Welcome to this demonstration on how to create a DexSplicity report using Acumatica Odata. In this report, we have revenue by type, a single line for our cost, and then a gross margin calculation and gross margin percent calculation. In the columns, we have regions with a mix of state and countries, and then we have a section for monthly and a section for year to date. We also added some graphs and lovely formatting. Our data is located on this tab here, and it comes from an OData feed. The OData feed is first set up in Acumatica, and we'll take a look at that. It's a generic inquiry, and there are several videos on how to do this feed, and I'm going to show you how to do it. You can also refer to this YouTube video by Douglas Johnson, and there's another one by Tim Rodman, creating an OData connection in Acumatica. In today's demonstration, we're going to use an out-of-the-box inquiry called InvoicedItems. You'll notice that several of these inquiries have the checkbox exposed via OData, and to do that, you have to check this box here in the screen. So we're going to use this generic inquiry. How to further set up inquiries is described in this video, Building Generic Inquiries with Acumatica by Richard Duffy, and another one from Acumatica that's very short and very information-packed. The one from Mr. Duffy is probably more descriptive. So we need to know the inquiry title. We need to know our base address, so I will copy that. And we also need to know our company ID. And you'll see where we're going to use these things. I'm back in Excel, and just to start from scratch, I'm going to open up a new file and show you that I would go to Data, from Other Sources, and select From OData Data Feed. This is where I put the base address, then type in OData / and then my company name. I enter my username and password and then click Next. In this window, I see all the generic inquiries that were available, and I want to select the invoice items. I'll say Next, and this is going to be saved. I already have saved it, so I'll just say yes. We want a table, so I'll click OK, and then my sheet populates with the OData feed. I'm going to put these two next to each other so you can see the data we're using is the same we just created. I'm going to insert a sheet, rename it Demo, and we're going to create this report from scratch. I've already downloaded the DexSplicity add-in. I already have a license, so I'm going to enable DexSplicity and then show the task pane. You can see that one of the sources I have is called Data, and this relates to the tab called Data. When I expand this, you can see that the texts I have available in the task pane are equivalent to the columns in my data sheet. I have value columns, and these are in the value section because they're formatted in Excel as number or value columns. And I have one date column formatted as a date called invoice date. These are the elements we'll be working with. I'm going to highlight row 4, and the first thing I want to do is put in my accounts by type. I'm going to select all types, drag and drop, and say that I want them applied one per line to the grid. I'll just type in a quick header here. I'll type in a description for a total, and now I just want to cut and insert cut cells to rearrange my lines in the order I would like to see them appear. Next, I'm going to open the Review Markup window. As I click on the different rows, you can see the elements applied. Even though I did the cut and insert, the elements stayed with their desired row. Next, I'm going to add a line for cost of sales, and this line is not a specific type, but it needs to have a value applied. As I open my values, I see that I have an extended cost and extended amount. I'm going to apply the sum rather than average count or other option. And then to my lines above, these were types, but I need to have the extended amount applied to these rows. So I'll apply the sum. I'm going to type in descriptions for gross margin and gross margin percent. These will be calculated rows. Next, we'll consider our columns. If I look at my original report, I see I'd like a column for regions that first are grouped by different states and then grouped by countries. In my underlying data, I have a column of data for state and then a column of data for country. So I've got to sort of mix and match these in this report. In order to get the regions by state, what I've done is created a hierarchy. And so I create this on a separate tab, and you can see that I've got the 4 US regions that I want with the states underneath them. Back in the report we're designing together, I'm going to click to highlight the 4 US regions, highlight column B, drag and drop, select yes to apply 1 item per column. I'll just type in the headers that I want for Europe, Canada, and Asia. And then to populate these, I'm going to expand the country value, select my 2 countries for Europe, drag and drop. Here I'll say no because I want them both on 1 column. Canada has just 1 value. And then for Asia, I'll highlight the column, select the 2 countries in Asia, again drag and drop and say no, I want them both applied to the 1 column. Next, we have to apply a date. I'll collapse text, expand date. We have that 1 date column in the underlying data, and we have fixed options and variable options. Our variable options relate to the date selected in the ribbon. We would like the current month applied, so we'll select current month. Typically, we'd apply time to columns, but we're going to apply date to rows in this example because underneath this section, we have another section for a different date, which will contain year to date rather than just current month information. Now we're ready to query the sheet, populating our report with data from the underlying database. Next, we're going to spend time formatting our report. We show our numbers the way we want, we add some totals, and then some formulas for gross margin and gross margin percent. I'm adding a formula so that my zeros don't show awkwardly. Copying those across, checking my formulas. Now I'm going to add some underlines using borders. I'm going to continue adding Excel items to make my report board presentation ready, including data bars and icon sets. My icon sets have a rule that I'm going to change to what I want. Next, I'm going to insert some rows for headers, and the first header I want is a dynamic date related to that current month. So I'll apply current month to this cell, and then I will also apply a label, and the label I want is a date, so I'll apply that to the cell as well, saying yes to apply to the cell level. When I query the data, I get a value that is in fact a date, and now I can format it to any formatting option available in Excel. I'll continue using Excel functionality to format my header, adding the descriptions I like, centering, some color, and of course put a logo in the upper corner. Next, I'll use Excel functionality to add a pie chart and place it where I like. And finally, we want our year-to-date section. So I will highlight all the data, go to the DexSplicity tab, select Copy, and then place my cursor where I want and select the DexSplicity Paste. I do that so that I copy over all the elements that I want copied. I'm going to change my header to year to date. Next, I have to apply a year to date date element to the rows in the year to date section. So I'll highlight the rows, expand my date options. Again, I want a variable period, and I can use fiscal year to date or calendar year to date. I'll apply the calendar year to date to the highlighted rows, and I'll say I want to replace the month to date that was copied with my year to date option, query my sheet, and all my data updates. Next, I just have to update my graph, and my report is complete. Next month, when I'm ready to update the data, I'll go to the Data tab, go to the Data ribbon, refresh all the data from my OData source. Then I'll go to DexSplicity, select the new date, click Update, and my report is ready to go just like that. Thank you for watching this demonstration on DexSplicity reports from an OData Acumatica data source.